My name is Alexandre Lapierre. I was born in France in 1980. I am son of Henri Lapierre and grandson of Albert Lapierre, who lived in Cyprus. And I'm grandson of Émile Lapierre, who was born and died in Kondea village. I first came in Cyprus in 2000 with my cousin Henriette Lapierre, and she was a famous geologist, French geologist, who wrote a lot of articles and works about Cyprus. And she wanted at that time, for 2000, to invite the rest of the family to rediscover the roots of the family in Cyprus. So we went to meet with our cousins, and we also went to visit Kondea. That was a little bit difficult at that time because it was before 2003, and we had only the day, only the afternoon to go to Kondea village, and we went. We were 21 people from the family. We went with rental cars to go there. And it was really impressive to me because as I was a child, I was always told by my father about the fate of our cousins and the fate of the property who was in the occupied parts. So that was really impressive, and it was a big journey. And it was my first experience in Cyprus. Then I decided, I was in my 20s, I decided to make research work about, not about the family, but about the Cyprus issue. So I wrote my first master degree about that, about the geopolitical interest around Cyprus. And then I interested me about the civil society, and I made my dissertation in France about that. About my grandfather, Albert, he was born in Lodève in France at the end of the 19th century, I guess 1997. Because my grandfather Émile at that time was working for the French army. Some years after that, as the business of the family was not going very well in Kondea, he was called back by the family to take care of the property, and he did this until his death in 1920. My grandfather made his studies in college in Beirut and then medical studies. He was really precoce because he had his baccalaureate, it's a French degree, at the age of 14, and then he began studying medicine. And when the First World War began, he was 17th. He was in the second year of medicine. He engaged just before the age. He was not 21 at that time. He was 17th, and he cheated the army to be just a simple soldier. He went to Dardanelles, he was wounded in Dardanelles, and then people who were taking care of him discovered that he was reading medicine books. So after that he worked for the medical division of the army, and he was sent to France. He finished his studies in Lebanon in 1919. And then he came back to France because it was difficult to establish as a French doctor in Cyprus, and the family had no money. So with relations he could find a position in northeastern France, working for a village, a community, a small village in a mountain region called Vosges. And he was employed. He was not employed, but you know, it was that system. the community gave money for the house, for all the material, because at that time the family and Albert, my grandfather, had no money at all, nothing to get established in the life. So it was paid by the industrial people of the place to have a doctor, and at that time he did everything. He was also surgery and so on. It was a general purpose doctor. And unfortunately, my grandfather, he was not directly involved with the resistance of the place during the Second World War, but he was to take care of some resistance. Those resistance were arrested, and he was denounced. It was not denounced, but the German arrested him, and he died in deportation in Mauthausen camp, just 2 weeks before the liberation of the camp in 1945. We went. Henriette is my cousin, is the daughter of Jules Lapierre, who was my grandfather's brother. So Jules is my grand uncle. Before talking about Henriette, I have to talk a little bit about Jules. Jules was, I guess he was born also in southwestern France. He took care about the exploitation in Kondea for some years, but he was unsuccessful, so he had to stop it, and he worked at first as a consular agent and a French teacher in the Larnaka region. And he had only one daughter, Alexandre Lapierre, who was born in Lebanon during the Second World War at the beginning, 1941, I guess. And she lived in Cyprus until her teenage years. And she was really sad about that, but she was forced by her father to leave Cyprus because it was the revolution time against the British rule, and she was friends with those young people who were fighting against the British rule. And she had once some problems with the police because she witnessed things and she didn't want to tell anything about it. So she was sent to France. It was really hard for her. But she came back to Cyprus because she made a specialty in studying the Cypriot geology, and for example, she was against all the British theories about Cypriot geology. She discovered something which remains famous in the world of geology. It's the Kelaki formation. It's Henriette Lapierre who described that kind of formation. It was a link between the French family and the family in Cyprus. And she was talking, of course, really fluent Greek, more Cypriot dialect with a French accent. And it was a link, and she decided to bring back the family to Cyprus. That's why I'm there, no? Because without my aunt Henriette, I guess, my cousin Henriette, I would not have do all these things about Cyprus. She wrote a lot of books and articles. If you make a research on the internet, you type Henriette Lapierre, you will see a lot of things. Of course, she died, unfortunately, 2005. She was just before retirement. She was early 60s, yes. I was always told that the family felt French as expatriates in Cyprus. I don't know whether it's a tradition or not. I was told that the men in the family came back to France to marry women from France. but the women married people from Cyprus, from other families in Cyprus. That's why you have a lot of links between the Lapierre family or the descendant of the Lapierre family and maybe some politicians from nowadays who are linked with the family. My aunt Harriet, it was different because she was born and not in Cyprus, but she lived all his childhood in Cyprus, and she was really fond of Cyprus, and she felt Cypriot. I can tell that she was a Cypriot nationalist, not Greek, but Cypriot nationalist. About my first impression visiting Kondea village, it was in 2000. And I was impressed because my cousin Henriette, asked in English some people from the village where the property of the Lapierre was. She could not find it because she hadn't been there since about more than 30 years. And the answer was in dialect, and I was really astonished. It was not in Turkish or in English. It was in dialect, in Kypriaga. That was something that was first impressive to me. The other thing is when we went in front of the small church, which at that time she still had her arches. Another thing that was really impressive visiting the property is the cemetery, because there are two tombs. This is not the real tombs. They were earthen tombs, but they were done in the beginning of the 20th century. And on one of those tombs, you have one tomb for the Diacono family, the second one for the Lapierre family. And my name was on it, Alexandre Lapierre, because it refers to my ancestor who died in the middle of the 19th century.